Fantastic. Nice to meet everybody. You all are new to me. I appreciate John and Elizabeth asking me to do this. Like he said, we have a marketing company for specifically for real estate agents. I've been in the real estate industry for the past 10 years. I've always been on this side, advising and marketing. So it's always been growth strategies. Um, I am in Sacramento, so I'm heavily involved in the Sacramento Association of Realtors, where I sit on a couple committees. I've sat on panels. So all of this stuff is that I have learned is not just from my own experience of working with agents. I've worked with like over 150 agents, but it's also anecdotally from what I hear other agents are doing, other successful agents are doing. And so I funnel everything in, and that's kind of how we built Jane Rothe. I'm going to use the volleyball, although I didn't play volleyball, but I'm going to use the volleyball analogy because I think it's perfect here when I'm talking about the relationship that we have with our clients. And you guys will kind of understand as I go along, where us on our end set things up like John was talking about, and then John and Elizabeth can then spike, right? And just because you spike doesn't necessarily mean you're going to score a point or it's going to lead to a transaction, but you're one step closer to obviously winning that business. So I'm going to use the volleyball analogy throughout all of this. And then, like I said, John and Elizabeth are going to jump in. But this isn't necessarily a sales pitch, but I just wanted to talk about the stuff that we are doing for John and Elizabeth so you understand the type of stuff we're setting and the type of stuff that I'm going to be advising you just on a smaller scale, right? So we run full marketing campaigns for agents. So social media, email, direct mail, ads on the internet. We do a full listing package, closing marketing, and then we work within their CRM, our client CRM or John and Elizabeth CRM. And then in those buckets, we have a bunch of things that we do within those buckets to help stay consistent and push John and Elizabeth's brand to the foundation of everything we do is their SOI because that's your lowest hanging fruit. Okay. So our strategy is to really capitalize on SOI first. And then once, like John was talking about, once you really have business and you're funneling your pipeline with your SOI, then if you want to do farming or you want to do a lead generation strategy, that's kind of what we advise, but you need some money to dump into that, right? So then John and Elizabeth, so we're doing the passive, so the setting of the activities, and then John and Elizabeth will spike. So those are the things that we can't do. So the personal calls, the DMs, booking coffees, appointments, the relationship connecting pieces that they're responsible that you guys are responsible for, right? Um, if you don't have a Jane Rothe, that's totally fine. Most people don't have a marketing person that they can work with. Obviously, we're here if you're interested, but if you don't have a marketing person, you're going to be doing all of this. So I broke it down into passive activities that you can do to try to set your SOI. And these are things that, oh, by the way, you guys, there's a lot of information in this PowerPoint and it's very tech heavy. If you want this PowerPoint when we're done, I'm happy to share it with you, which is why I put all the information in here. So you don't need to necessarily write notes. You can if you want, but I can send it to everybody as well.
If you guys want the slide deck of this, just put your in the chat, just put your email and we'll be sure we get it to you.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. I also have another document too that would be helpful if you guys are interested that I'll mention. So basically the easiest things to set if you don't have these things already in motion to set your SOI in a passive manner. So when I'm talking about passive manner, I'm talking about trying to come up with creative ideas in your marketing that's going to elicit some sort of response. So some sort of conversation when they see you. Oh, I see you have increased your social media because I hear people say that all the time even if they're not engaging with your social media, right? You're like, why didn't you comment, right? But they'll comment in person, or they'll respond to an email, or they will engage with your social media stuff. So these are things you want to try to get creative on. How can I get somebody to respond to me? So everything that we do is try to elicit some sort of response. It's not a perfect science. But it does work when people are obviously engaging, because then it's kind of a soft way to enter into or a conversation, right? So here are a few ways that you can do it. If you don't already have like a monthly email that you are sending out to all of your database or the people that you have email addresses for, start doing something like that on a monthly basis. It could literally be one time a month. These emails don't always have to be real estate specific. It can be personal stuff. And I think the biggest misconception about real estate content is that it has to be always real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. And it doesn't have to be, right? The things that people are going to engage with the most oftentimes are the personal things. Again, because you're talking to your SOI, these are people that already know, like, and trust you. So getting a little personal is not as uncomfortable as, maybe oversharing to a stranger, which I tend to do sometimes.
And if I could hop in on that point, it's such a good point. You guys may have experienced this too, whether you're posting or whether you're sending things to your SOI. Elizabeth and I have found that the real estate stuff is really great. It keeps it front of their mind that you're in real estate. But where we get our most engagement in our newsletters and in our social posts is when we are posting personal things or we're posting things of interest to them. We know we have a lot of clients that have dogs, so when there's a but in San Diego, we have doggy surf contests, believe it or not. So we'll post stuff like that. But that's where we get the most engagement is where we're just giving them community information and providing value, not related to real estate.
Also we do for John and Elizabeth, like San Diego County events. That's another example, right? So it's not necessarily super personal, but it's giving them information, also talking about your geolocation. So talking about your geolocation is also very important. So if you don't have a monthly email, I would definitely set that up. That's something that easy that everybody can do, that they could put that into their schedule. Social media, I am sure all of you use social media, hate social media, have a love-hate relationship with social media, as do I. But social media is actually a really good way to passively put information in front to people. We post 3 times a week. You can post as much as you want, just as long as you are consistent. Okay. Again, personal, helpful, real estate related. The other thing that people forget to do on social media, if you aren't as great with the consistency as posting, is taking some time to comment on your SOI's social media posts. So social media is actually a two-way communication channel. And people forget that they actually need to not only put their information out there and do their own content, but engage with other content. And when I say engage with people's content, don't just leave like an emoji. Think about what you want to say, because a lot of times the people will comment back. You then, if somebody comments back, it's a great way to send them a DM or text them. I haven't heard from you in a while. Great to hear from you. Da, 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 da. Leads to conversation. So these are just little strategies that you can then lead to conversations. And that's the whole goal. You want things to lead to conversations so that you can deepen the relationship. If you don't already have a Google business page, I strongly, strongly suggest that you create a Google business profile. I think a lot of real estate agents do, so that you might all have that. However, a Google business profile is incredibly underrated in this space. And I will touch on that. I just looked at John and Elizabeth's Google business page. You two probably don't even know this, but their Google business page gets on average 400 organic interactions on a monthly basis. So that's 400 people because we have optimized it. People are searching and it's popping up in their searches. We push their Google reviews are going to Google, and we're posting. So we are keeping that consistent. So if you don't have a Google business page, I strongly, strongly suggest it, because we're not dumping money into Google business. So this is without spending a dime on Google. So Google is actually very powerful if you use it in the right way. Um, I have given you guys, and you don't need to, again, if you want this PowerPoint, I will give it to you. So you don't necessarily need to write it. How many people, I'm sure everybody uses ChatGPT at this point, right? Yeah, okay. So I give you some starter ideas on what to plug into ChatGPT if you are having a hard time making content for yourself. And the one tip that I want to give about ChatGPT is to really be able to use it as efficient as possible. You need to talk to it like you're talking to a person. So if you say a statement and to a person and you're like, give me da, 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 and the person's like, what? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. ChatGPT is probably not going to give you the best response. So talk to it like you would be explaining something to an actual human being. Um, so the social post ideas that I'm giving you is it's just give me 9 social media content ideas. So I did 3 of each that are real estate specific, personal, and area specific. So that gives you kind of like an overarching, so a little bit different categories. And then you can put in, I'm in uh St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know why I just thought, no, I don't even think anybody's in St. Louis. I don't know why that just popped in my head. But whatever service area you are in, I'm in San Diego. I like dogs, da 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 da. So you can give it some personal stuff so that it gives you back things that apply to you and not just really generic stuff. And then once you get your ideas, so ChatGPT will probably be like, here are 3 real estate specific, here are 3 personal, here are 3 area specific, and you can say, yes, I like those, and you can keep chatting with it and make sure that you get what you want. And once you get those, then you can say, okay, turn this number 1 into a social media caption. And I want to talk about the captions just a little bit because I think people don't really understand how captions work. People tend to think that captions are for the reader specifically, and that's not always the case. It's like, yes, people sometimes do read it, but I'm sure a lot of you only read like the first few sentences of captions. So the captions aren't just for the reader. The captions are also for the algorithms and your SEO. So Google is picking up what you're putting on social media, which is why I say, talk about your service area, say your name, like talk about like where you are so that over time, Google is also picking that type of stuff up. And then if you use a Google business page profile and that all of that's in there, right? It's kind of like all interconnected. It's very, very important. So put as much in the caption as possible, not just for your reader, but for the algorithms can do what the algorithms do. Um, all of your social media posts should also go on your Google business profile. Okay. So, because Google wants to know that you are maintaining that profile to then push it. So, a lot of people just set a Google business profile, just set it and forget it. This is actually something that you should be working on every time you post on social media. You should do something on your Google business profile, if that makes sense. I already touched on the last 2 tips. Okay. So here's how that's just passive ways to engage your SOI, and here's strategies where you can be a little bit more proactive with your SOI. So I call this like the fast triage. So you're going to reactivate 30 people at a time. Um, if you don't use a CRM as like your data hub, or you're not in your CRM daily or weekly, I strongly suggest that you use it. I know everybody, I always think this is a little cheesy, but I keep using it because everybody uses it in the real estate space, that your network is your net worth, right? And I truly think maybe I should come up with my own statement because I do think it's a little cheesy, but it's very true, right? These are the people that are already know, like, and trust you. These are the people that, are going to use your business. However, a lot of times when we get busy in business, we forget to then maintain the relationships. And we also assume that these people that already know, like, and trust us are just going to keep coming back. And that's actually not true, right? You need to continue these relationships, just like any friendship. If you don't talk to a friend in 2 years, they're going to be like, are we really that good of friends? Right. And I'm sure if you've been in the business for a while, this really stings. But if you lose business from SOI, that stings. Somebody that you know maybe did business with, or they were a friend for multiple years, and that you see them listing with another agent, and you're like, the audacity, right? But then it's like, okay, well, did you nurture that relationship? Did you, John, were you going to jump in and say something? It looked like you were
Yeah,
going
I was.
to.
What she's talking about is really important when she's talking about just, reactivating 30. Whether you have 10 people in your SOI or you have 10,000, thinking about your SOI can be daunting if you have a lot of people. Elizabeth and I have 3 to 4,000 in our SOI, depending on how they're categorized, but we do segment them. We have our our top like 400 that we're doing different marketing to than we do to our others, and then we have our top that we are like our top 100. But it's daunting if you have 1,000 or 3,000 or even 500 in your SOI, and you're like, well, how am I going to reach out to all of them? How am I going to do something? Well, this is how you do it. If you reactivate 30, this week or this month, then next month you can reactivate another 30 and then another 30, and that just happens over time. You don't have to think about doing the whole 3,000 at once.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I chose 30 is because for that exact reason. When things feel overwhelming, and this is just like from a psychology standpoint, when things feel overwhelming and you feel like you have too much at one time, you get paralyzed and then you're like, I'm not going to do any of it, right? So if you just take it off in chunks, it's so much more manageable. Um, and the reality is that you may not, I mean, even if you don't have 30, right? You can pick the people, but these 30 people could be friends, past clients, industry partners, title, lenders, inspectors, those type of people that you want to re-engage, people that may be giving you referrals. But if you take it off in chunks of 30, it's like, for the entire month is manageable. So this is a long-term strategy, but this is a strategy that you should be doing honestly for the rest of your career. It should last no more. I mean, you shouldn't do this more than like a couple hours a day. So again, feasible, but also strategic. Um, so if you don't already, and John spoke about this too, if you don't already have tags for people in your CRM, this is a great opportunity to start tagging individuals however you want, but don't overthink it. So I see some clients have, like 100 different tags, which is fine if you're going to remember what those 100 different tags are for. But for this strategy, just reactivation, like you could do like, past client or SOI. SOI is really easy. That's somebody that you already know, like, and trust, right? Um, so make sure that you're tagging people. Also, if you don't have tags and you do want to do marketing later on, so you want to send a postcard or you want to reactivate a different group, it's easier to pull them in.
Amy, I
Yes,
was just going to interject here. And for example, this week, actually, we're doing open house as the tag. So we are following up with everybody that we met at the open
absolutely.
houses. So anyway, that's something that we're doing now. And one of the things I love about all the different ways that you're helping us market is like we are reaching out to in different ways to all the people because we're hitting all the different avenues. You're sending out email for us and then also the social media, and then we're also on online too with like Google and following people around. So I mean, just it we're hitting people in so many different directions that I think they all end up having an opportunity to be in front of them, however,
Yeah,
whatever medium they're on, whether it's social media or email or uh, Google, however it is.
yeah.
And part of the point of it is not just to um well, part of the point is, so as Amy talked about, that gut punch where like you haven't spoken to or contacted a client and you find out that they sold their house. The whole point is to like stand in front of them, but you don't have to go to coffee with them every week to be able to do that. But if you have all these different touch points, then you're standing in front of them and you have less chance of them not contacting you when it's time to transact.
Right, right. Yeah, so I mean, and that's the kind of like the key point of this partnership. I think people misunderstand when they hire a marketing person that they're like, "Oh, I don't need to interact with my SOI at all." And that's not actually how this strategy works because we can't call for John and Elizabeth, right? And even if we did, that might their SOI would be like, why is Amy calling for John? That's awkward, right? That's a little weird. So that's why this partnership works really well, is because we're taking a lot off John and Elizabeth's plate that they don't have to do, but then that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have to do anything, if that makes sense. Um, so with this process of, kind of triaging or reactivating your SOI, this is a great opportunity to data mine. And what I say by that is to find missing information that is missing in your CRM. So if you don't have birthdays in your CRM, or you don't have notes, or whatever that looks like, that will make it helpful next time you talk to that person or you're reaching out to that person. These are things that are really helpful because I don't expect you, if you have 500 people, 3,000 people in your database, even 200, right? That's still a lot of people. That's still a lot of information that you're going to have to remember. Don't expect to remember all of that. Like, help yourself by putting these into your CRM. Um, I spoke about the cadence. So this process should not be more than 2 hours a day for you. Again, you want achievable, realistic goals for yourself that's not going to take up 8 hours a day, because if you're not busy right now, yes, you may have the time to do more of this, which is fantastic, but the goal is you want to be able to fit this into your schedule. This is like your non-negotiable 2 hours, right, of reactivating your CRM. And then how you do that is just by calling, texting, however you need to do that. You might have to get a little creative here. So there may be somebody that you haven't spoken to in 2, 3 years, and you're like, I really want to reconnect with this person, but I feel so awkward calling them. Maybe a text, maybe a DM, maybe wait for them to like post on social media. Or this is a great opportunity. I'm glad we're having it right now. If you don't already have an event at the end of the year, you can host an event. It doesn't have to be massive, but you can host an event and then you can invite that person to the event. So you're going to have to find little strategies. And maybe if this is that person where you haven't spoken to him in 2 or 3 years, and you're not going to engage with them until the event, maybe put them aside and don't include them in the 30 people that you are going to re-engage with. Also, it doesn't have to be 30. If you start with 10, that's fantastic. Okay. The goal is just to get started and to move forward. Um, and then once you talk to that person, don't forget to log those notes into your CRM, or log it somewhere that you're going to remember, because we are moving very, 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 very quickly. And you may forget some of the things that they said, right? And there's nothing better than somebody saying something, oh, like, I just had to move my mom and da 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 da. If you 3 months late down the road remember that point about them, they're going to be like, wow, she really cares about me, or he really cares about me. So these notes are super critical to the relationship so that you can go back once you re-engage with them and you can remember these things. Oh yeah, like, how's your son doing? I know that you just moved him in like a few months ago. How are you doing? Child, kidless at home, or whatever that looks like. Okay, and then you're going to spike, right? So you're going to set it up. The passive stuff is going to be email, social media, your Google business page, or whatever that looks like for you. Some sort of marketing that is a little bit more passive. Then you're going to set up to spike, right? You're going to re-engage. You're going to pick your SOI. You're going to figure out who that is in your CRM. You're going to data mine. You're going to make notes. And then you're going to reach out. So the principle here is I keep saying this over and over again. The goal here is not to talk about business. You're not asking for business. You're not asking if they want a CRM. You're not asking how much equity, do they want to know how much equity they have in their house? That's not the goal here. The goal here is to re-engage the friendship and reignite the relationship, or deepen the relationship, nurture the relationship, whatever that looks like. Okay. So call, text, Facebook, invite them to an event, whatever it looks like for you, right? So when you're calling them, it's as simple as, hey, I haven't spoken to you in a while. I was just thinking about you, wanted to say hi. That's it. Elizabeth, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and John may be able to help me with this. It's the Ford questions, family. Help me out, John. FORD,
Family,
from the book.
occupation, recreation, and desires, dreams.
There you go. Yeah, those are the questions that you can kind of ask along, that keep you out of that business section, but you're finding all about out about what's going on with them through those questions, the
And it's
Ford
funny you
question.
bring that up, Elizabeth, because the Ford questions, if any of you guys have read Ninja Selling or been a part of the Ninja Selling program, I mean, the reason why everyone talks about SOI, 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 but no one really does it the way they should do it or gets out of it what they could. And Ninja Selling is a great book. If you haven't read it, it will dial you into SOI and kind of what you should be doing. But that's what Amy does, and she gets you refocused on your SOI. And the reason why is we spend so much money on whether it's Zillow leads or other leads or online leads. We spend so much money on mailers, like throwing spaghetti against the wall, hoping someone, and we've got this rich, rich database. I see Monica was a ninja selling instructor for 15 years. We've got this rich database that's just low hanging fruit. And Monica, you can correct me on this or not, but I believe in ninja selling, they talk about they did in all their research that they did with all the agents, for every 100 households you have in your database, there's 15 transactions in there through purchase, sale,
Per year.
or referral. And this is everything that Amy does, helps you do that. And as I'm looking through her slide deck, I'm thinking, shit, we're not doing everything that we could be doing, but you can't implement everything. You just got to do it piece by piece. But anyway, the point is, we don't focus as much on our SOI as we really should, and we're sitting there trying every little new thing that comes out and putting money towards it. And if you do, and the reality is you don't need to put as much money to your SOI. You've already got them, right? You've already got them in your database. They know, like, and trust you. You don't have to spend as much money. So it is low hanging fruit. And if you do it right, there are a lot of deals to be had from it.
Totally. And they are a lot closer than to closing business than like a net new or like a very cold lead, right? Because you really have to, like, I don't know if anybody does Zillow and you just meeting that person. You sometimes have to work those people a long time, follow up, and the energy that it takes to re-engage, that's time is money, right? So that's why the focus of everything that we do is SOI. Now we support our agents or our clients if they want to do those type of strategies. We'll support them and we'll talk about it, whatever that looks like. But the bulk of what we do is not running those type of lead generation ads for to get net new people. And I do know people that just focus on their SOI that have a sole, like their sole business is SOI generated. So repeat referral, and then the people that they already, that know, like, and trust them. And that is how they generate their business, and they don't do anything else. So it can be done. It just, you have to, put it into practice, and you have to understand that if you start doing some of this stuff today, or you're already doing it and you're just adding to it, it's a long-term strategy, right? So don't expect somebody to be like, oh, I have a referral after one conversation, right? It's just like you're just nurturing that friendship. And when in doubt, if you feel uncomfortable about something, think about how you would want to receive a message or how you would want to receive communication. What feels good to you? So things that people say, like when your friends are talking to you. So just think about it in that regard. Because I look at that and I'm like, that feels like I wouldn't like if somebody was super pushy with me. So think about those things as you're, putting this stuff into practice. Because the worst thing is for one of your SOIs to get like, turned off and be like, never talk to me again because you're just a little too much. Not everybody's going to be your friend anyways, so good riddance. So I have a 5 day, and this is the other PDF that I was talking about aside from this deck. So anybody that wants these two things, I can email them to you. I see a bunch of things in the chat. I'm not looking at the chat. So if you didn't put your email in there, I also have my email at the end of the deck that you could also email me.
Yeah, and
John.
we've grabbed them, so we'll give you a list. You can
Oh, okay,
send them
perfect. Okay,
everything.
perfect.
But you
Um,
guys can also reach out to Amy too.
Yeah, totally. So I have a 5-day SOI and it's like a lot lengthier than this, but this is essentially the bulk of it or taking it down into smaller steps. So every single day, your goal is to do one thing that's a little bit passive. So that's what I was talking about, putting out or thinking about or creating a marketing piece, creating an email, setting that stuff up, data mining, whatever that looks like that, the marketing piece and then being a little bit more proactive. So that's the reactivating your SOI. So reaching out to 1 to 2 people. So if your goal is within the 30 days, you're going to touch 30 people, like text, phone call, DM, whatever that looks like. You can break it up to how many people that you need to reach out in a day or a week. So each day you're doing something that's passive, a little bit more passive. And then each day you're doing something that's a little bit more proactive, where that's you're hoping to have a conversation. So that's the conversation piece that you're hoping to get in. So the basics of this is just to keep moving. Even if you don't touch people 30 days, even if you don't do it for a day, it's kind of like working out or training for a half marathon and you're like, oof, I didn't do my training today, like, and you're beating yourself up. It's just like, right, keep going. But consistency compounds. So each little step is going to push you forward. And I know because this happens to me, and I'm sure it happens to everybody, you start to feel like, oh, these activities are not doing anything. You may get a month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, and you're like, nothing is going. Also, keep in mind, we're in somewhat of a tough market. So keep that in the back of your head. But I promise you, these things do and will be impactful. They will move your business. I've seen it firsthand in a ton of agents' business, and this is the bulk of what they do, right? Um, Make sure that this 2 hours that you're reactivating your SOI is a non-negotiable. So this is an appointment that you put on your calendar. You don't necessarily, if you can't do it every single day, maybe 3 days a week, put it on your calendar and make it a non-negotiable. A client calls, hey, I'm in a meeting, right? Text them, hey, I'm in a meeting. Is this like, do you need to talk right now? Whatever that looks like. Set boundaries for yourself so that you could make this happen for yourself.
In every year, Elizabeth and I look back at where our deals come from, and we do a lot of different lead sources. We call them our pillars, right? So we run funnels, we do online leads, we do a lot of stuff, and we get leads from a lot of them. We have a cool luxury expired program that we do. Every year we look back, and the majority of our deals come from our SOI. And that's why we got together with Amy, is because we're like, if that's what it is, and you've heard it your whole career, that's what we need to keep focusing on. The other stuff will, mix in there, but this is our bread and butter, and it's where we want to spend our time, energy, and effort. And it is a long-term approach. It doesn't, yes, obviously you could reach out to your SOI and someone might call you and say, hey, I was just thinking about you, I'm going to sell. That can happen. But the reality is, it's like anything. You build your business based on this foundation.
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad you mentioned the multiple streams because that's essentially what this is, right? You want to have multiple streams of flowing into your pipeline. Um, so just to recap, my QR code didn't pull through. That's super annoying. I had a QR code I was going to say if you wanted to follow us on social media, but our Instagram is down there. It's JR Real Estate Marketing. If anybody wants to follow us, my contact information is there. But just to recap, you're going to pick 30 people. You're going to start with 30 people. That's it. Just start with those 30 people. And if you can't engage with one of them, it's okay. Just move on. 2 hours a day. That's all you need. 2 hours a day. Um, and start with the thinking of you message, right? And then if you want this stuff, I will email it to you. I'll send this PowerPoint in the 5-day SOA plan to anybody that submitted their email.
And
And I
so,
was just going to say something real quick that one of the things I love about working with Amy and her team is they kind of keep us on track. They're reminding us, hey, ask for that review. And they ask for the review as well. But if someone isn't reacting to it and they're not doing it, they'll let us know, hey, reach out to them, ask for that review. And they just keep us on track for getting those results. I think they're kind of that reminder for us to keep going and getting that. And Amy will tell us, hey, you guys, it's time for us to meet, when we have like a monthly meeting, to kind of regroup. She's like, hey, she nails us down and gets us back in so we can get that value from them. And it's really great. I mean, it's been a great partnership.
Thank
and
you.
the one thing that we are consistent with is using Amy. Where we drop the ball is where we're supposed to spike it. Sometimes we're not spiking. She sets it up all the time, but where we're dropping the ball is where we're not spiking. There's things that we should be doing more of, but at least we've got her doing a lot of the background stuff that helps us, and then we can, you can
Yeah.
always do more, but then we can, get in and spike the ball as she says. But here's what I'll tell you guys. Honestly, there's no pitch here. We're like, we Amy and I and Elizabeth, we wanted to provide value to you. And sure, you can contact Amy and like if you want to work with her, work with her. She's awesome. I've vouched for her all the time, but there's no sales pitch. Like we just want to provide some value to you, share how we work with Amy. You guys can do all of this in your SOI all by yourself, but the reality is I'm an agent. You're not going to do it. Neither am I. And so, but you can pick and choose what you want to do, and you can get started with the Reactivate 30 today. You can get started, and you guys can start doing that right now. There's so much more to it, and it's so much more comprehensive. So, if you guys want to reach out to Amy, please do. She's a wealth of knowledge, and maybe she's got a platform or program that works for you. But otherwise, we appreciate you guys coming on, taking the time and listening. We hope it was valuable. I learned something, and I'm working with Amy every week. So,
Yeah.
anyway, anything you want to say lastly, Amy?
Yeah, no, I appreciate your guys' attention. And yeah, if you have any questions, even if you don't want to work with us, that's totally fine. If you have any follow-up questions, I will be happy to answer anything. The other thing that I wanted to say is even if you can't afford maybe to hire somebody, you can try to build, maybe there's somebody in your office that you can collaborate with and maybe build like a small little team, accountability team or something that you guys can work with because I know working in silos is a little challenging. So find somebody that you can like lean on and like build this with them. Like John said, you are very capable to do everything that we do. All of our clients are capable to do everything that we do. The only thing is the consistencies part. So once you get too busy, you may want to look into even if it's not us, like, having that extra help so that you can be consistent, so that you can drive your energy where it really is going to get the highest ROI. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you, John and Elizabeth. This was
Yeah,
fantastic.
and I've
Welcome.
got a hard stop at the top of the hour, but Amy, if you have a couple minutes, does anyone have any questions? Anyone want to come off mute and ask any questions? Yay, nay.
Hi, my name's Kurt Kearney. I've sold real estate for a long time,
Hi, Kurt.
and I, they talked about the book. Someone moved my cheese, right? And I used to get a lot of business from advertising in the newspaper. Believe it or not, the yellow pages and our real estate shopping magazine, and sometimes we'd go on cable. But it's like, and I know I'm older now, but I've got quite a bit of knowledge, and it seems like my cheese has definitely been moved. I don't know how to get in touch with people and have them find me.
I haven't read that book, how they move my cheese,
I
but
I I read it. It's
oh,
a
have you?
classic sales
Who
book,
moved my
right?
cheese?
And
Yeah.
Oh,
Kurt, we
Who Moved My
can Elizabeth and I can reach out to you offline and kind of go through some of the things that we do for reaching out and getting in touch. Yeah, the market's changed, the industry has changed vastly, and so there's a new way of getting in touch. And we've kind of got all those touch points, but if you read through the slide deck, we can send you the slide deck. So there'll be a lot of information there of how to do it. And then we can talk offline and, give you some ideas based on what you're looking to do.
Yeah,
Sounds
my
good.
sales manager in tech made us read it like 3 times
Yeah.
years ago when I read it.
I do appreciate your honesty and the fact that it's not all on you, that that we have to spend a couple hours every day to that was eye-opening for me. Okay, it's not on someone else. I actually have to invest time to make this all work.
Yeah, totally. And if you think about it, I think I mentioned this, Kurt, in terms of just maintaining a relationship. So if you look at it in that regard, obviously you're not going to hire somebody to maintain your friendships, right? So this is a way, our company is a way that they're going to consistently see your brand and your face so that they don't hopefully forget you, but at the same time, you still need to maintain that relationship to then really solidify that they're going to come to you, because sometimes if you don't maintain that relationship they will use somebody else and it stings, it really stings, right? So it's not just hire somebody and then I'm completely hands off and just wait for the business to come. You still need to be proactive. However, you don't need to be, if you do hire somebody like us, it's not going to be, you're not going to be doing this 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day because you're worried about marketing and that sort of thing. So a lot of this is taken off your plate so that you can focus on maintaining those relationships. And that's really our goal.
And the cool thing is this is still a relationship business. The
Yeah.
industry has changed. It's still a relationship business. The cool thing is you don't have to maintain the relationship always face to face. Now you can do it in so many different ways, and that relationship is maintained, it is grown, and you're just as effective. So it allows you to leverage technology and leverage some of these tools so you can do this at scale, which is even better.
Well, and I
That's
was
cool.
going to say, and Amy encourages us to do this as well. But I mean, John and I work really hard at doing a lot of organic posting as well in between her posting so that we have, where we're actually on screen talking, whether it's on a story or on a reel. But we do that. And John and I didn't when this first started and people were doing a lot of video, we were doing a lot of video. And it was crazy because people, even strangers, would come out and say, "Hey, we know you," and they already feel like they know you. So that's one way for people to even feel like in touch with you these days is through social media and how much you can talk to people on social media and just share your organic lives with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kurt, I'm happy to talk if you want to talk. I mean, John said that, you guys can talk offline. I'm happy to chat with you offline too. And like we could talk about the stuff that you're doing and see if there's, I can give you some ideas.
That sounds good. So you don't see AI putting realtors, and I don't. It's funny. I've done this
I
for
don't.
40 years, and I laugh. I was driving home probably 30 years ago when the internet was just coming on, and people were talking on the radio, and they said, "Boy, I'm sure happy I'm not a realtor because once the internet gets going, they won't need realtors anymore." And I thought, "Oh, I wonder what I'll do."
I think that's everybody's fear, and I think AI is challenging a lot of industries, to be honest. However, in this, I mentioned this about think about how you would want to receive something. If you know a piece of AI or somebody is not real behind like a text message or a phone call, how you would respond to that, right? Are you likely to be like, oh, yes, hi, da, 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 when you know you're not really talking to a real person or engaged in a text or even on social media. So I think that AI can be really helpful to make your business more efficient in your day to day. Like I said, using ChatGPT that can help strum up some ideas of the content and stuff like that. But in terms of replacing humans from a human to human connection, I don't think we are anywhere close. I mean, I guess if we just have robots doing everything for us, but yeah, I mean, living in the Jetsons, I don't know. Like, I don't foresee that happening just because people want, we're still human, right? People yearn for that connection regardless. And that's why I don't suggest a lot of AI driven marketing where it's like front facing, where there's, maybe AI generated text messages or AI generated posts, because I don't 100% trust AI. I use AI to help my thought process flow a little bit better, and really get the ideas and help me brainstorm. But in terms of like putting it out and completely trusting AI to take over, I don't, we're not there. We are just not there whatsoever.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah, of
you.
course.
All right, gang. Thanks for jumping in. I appreciate you guys giving us your time, and we
Yeah.
hope you guys got a lot out of it. Reach out to us, reach out to Amy. We're happy to help and assist any way we can.
Sweet.
Thanks,
Thank you.
So
guys.
good seeing everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.